nanomaterial. You have the copper wire. This copper wire, thank you very much. You need it to be what we have seen for this system is known as a copper wire gauge 14. It's about 1.6 millimeter thickness. That's what we find to be the optimum strength for the household use. Easy to manipulate, easy to work. What you do, you have to understand the work of the plasma and construct a continuous flow of plasma. What does this mean? If you get it back again, it's I have to do this way. I'm gonna get rid of this because it's easier to write the board. I'm too old-fashioned. Which one? This. Thank you very much. These youngsters are better than us, huh? 10 years makes a lot of difference. So, remember something. We'll come into the teaching. When you have a plasma is like this. When you made those, what we call the GANs, the green materials, they're like this. But what they have magnetical from North Pole to South Pole, from North Pole to South Pole connection. At the same time, the North Pole of this partially feeds back. So if you look at this structure, you'll find out a single wire does not give you this effect. So what is the closest that you can bring these plasmas in a free condition close to each other that behave like a north and south pole? What do you see if you look? You go north and you go south, north and south, north and south. Where do we get closest to this shape? That we can continuously suppress a plasma to this shape. Spring. If you look at the spring, it gives you near enough the shape you're looking for. It goes from a north to the south, a north to the south. So, in fact, now we have found a shape that we can replicate not only the shape of the plasma, but the flow of the plasma current through too. So that was the next step. And what do you find out? If you have North Pole to North Pole, magnetical to magnetical, and gravitational to gravitational, there is a piece missing here. Because this now behaves only like the magnetical, not the gravitational part. So what we found out was easier to do. Let this be the magnetical and put another coil inside, which behaves very much like the gravitational side. So the magnetical spreads opener, the gravitational tighter. We put the gravitational in the middle. We put magnetical rejection outside. So what you get now is the increase of the two fields to come together. How you connect the north and the south, how you do this job, then dictates on you how you can manipulate the power. So what you see today we go through the process of this, and then if you can make your units ready, your springs ready by tomorrow, we go to the next step of interaction of connection. So what you need to do, you need two type of springs. One very wide and one very narrow. In a way, if I can show it to you, that you can insert one plasma inside the other. So what it means, if this is the bigger one, what we call magnetical, which is the green one, then we insert the gravitational inside. Then we see we have both whatever is released and whatever can be absorbed in the same system. As I said to you, in our trials and tests, we found copper 14, gauge 14 as the best for power production. What you need to do, in a simple way, you get yourself a very thin wire, a very thin bar, that by adding the wire to it, you can still insert it into a bigger bar or bigger spring. The secret to this is when you hold the copper wire in your hand, you have to wind it anti-clockwise, which means if you go this way, it's clockwise. You have to go backwards. You wind it anti-clockwise. The number of turns is how tight you want to make it. And then when you made your turns, you have the spring shape like this. So what we find out is you need to have one of the best ways with a 14 gauge is round about 70 to 80. Oh, it loses position. You need between 70 and 80 turns. So you need something between 70 of these nudges. When you made it, you just pull it a little bit that they are not touching. There's just about a gap in it. And then you do the same. You get a bigger bar, a thicker bar, like this. And now you do the bigger bar inside. The same. That where, in fact, if you look, the thinner winding, when you separated it, can fit into the other. When you made this, you make sure that on a smaller or thinner bar, where you started the anti-clockwise turning, you leave at least the same size as what you winded free. You don't cut. You need to have a free wire on one end. On the beginning end, about 4 or 5 centimeters is good enough. On the other end, for the piece which goes in the center, you need more or less the length of the whole wire 1.5 times free, which means you don't cut the spring here. You go back, you measure the length of the spring which you made, for example, and you go 1.5 times. There is a reason for this. Then what you do, don't forget, we are only back on the wire section. Now we need to go through the process that we can now release the nanomaterials on the surface. The Keshe Foundation supporters around the world, they know. If you don't know, go on the internet, look for nano coating Keshe Foundation YouTube. There's numbers, hundreds of videos everywhere, different people doing it different way. What you do, first of all, is that you insert the two together inside, and then you choose the way you want to create the nano coating. How you want to nano coat it. I advise you to do the insertion first before you nano coat, because you find out it's much easier. And then what you need to do, where I told you on the inner part that you have 1.5 length free without turns, you turn this back on itself through the center of itself. What it means, you go through the whole circle inside just with a wire. This is important because when you come in, you will see it on the drawings, which is on the blueprint. The wire from here, which comes out, and then this is the other end of it, which you have loose. This is the center coil. You go inside itself. So when you make this into a coil, it just falls inside. And then you leave the wire. Don't touch it. Don't do anything else with it. Then now you need to do another job. You need, this one, don't forget, was between 70 and 80 coils, both inside and outside. You need to make yourself another coil, the same, two inside out, one for about 150 to 160 turn. It's an art to learn this. So what you need is, you need a second circle. You need a second spring of between 150 to 160. Oh, I know what it is. It's the vibration of the board. Ooh, drop the book. So what you need is two double coils. One of 70 to 80 and one of 150 to 160. What this means is you need a small double coil like this, and you need a larger double coil like this, where once you nano coat these the same way as we showed you, you have, in fact, a two coil inside each other small and a two coil outside each other large. So, in fact, what you sit is with if you look at it, you sit with this. You have a coil like this, and you have a coil like this. Here is two coils, and here is two coils. And don't forget, the same applies to the bigger coil. Your inserted coil inside at the point of exit, where you put it through your coil, has to be long enough to go through itself, to come out. This is important. You will understand why and how when we come to assembly. So now you have created yourself 4 coils, and I'll tell you what you need. You need 3 of this, and and you need 3 of this. With one, it will not be powerful enough to meet the demand. So you're looking very strange. You understand? So what you have is you have, in fact, 3 with 70 to 80 and 3 between 150 to 160 turn. If you can make this, you have got the basis for your power supply. So now you're still dealing in a matter state. If you want, we can go to the next step, but as I know, a lot of Keshe Foundation followers around the world know what they're going to do. We teach everybody the same till we see tomorrow. If you made anything, you can show us. What you need to do at this stage, once you made it, you have to make the springs nano-coated, which they become like this. Black, you know they're totally nano-coated. And then you put the smaller one inside it. So now you have 2 sets inside each other. And then you have a twist of the first one to go through it. So what you achieve is a simple coil. Inside a coil, 70 to 80 turn or 150 to 180 turn. The biggest problem for you and the biggest expense for you will be the copper. The copper costs for each unit anything between 50 to 100 euro. Depends on the purity, depends on the volume and everything else. This is the main cost of production. Does not matter if you're in China, you're here, anywhere in the world, copper more or less has the same value for the wire. And it sticks to that kind of prices as we see worldwide. Then, how to get to this from this? This is very simple. With this, we have developed a process called nano-coating. To do that, to make a nanomaterial, if you go to the present market and buy nanomaterial, they charge you a fortune. You can do yourself with what we call a soda caustic. What this is what is known as NaOH. This is what? Somebody clean me out. I think it's the webmaster in the background.
No, you just have to pull it down a little bit. It's moved back up.
I backed it up. Okay. Ooh, I learned that bit. Magic. Okay. So you have this. This is what it is. If you don't know what NaOH is, you get the toilet blocked. You have a barbecue you want to clean up. You go and buy yourself a caustic soda to unplug the toilet, to clean the mesh of the barbecue. That's what it is. You put a very little amount of it at the bottom of a box, and then you put your coils in a way that they don't get to the bottom, but they hang in it, but it has to be fully covered, that when you put the water in it, you fill it up till the wires are covered with a boiling hot water. It creates a steam. Be careful with your lungs, with your hands, with your face, of the kickback of the steam of the caustic. You don't
Mr.
burn.
Keshe,
Yes.
would you like us to get a couple of videos teed up for?
Yes, please. That'll be fantastic. Yes, please.
Okay, and
We will
also
show it to you.
Also, I have another surprise
Well,
too.
yes. Please, for safety, beware of the boiling water. Beware of a steam of caustic. Let me explain to you something. What you're watching now. What you see now, what we are teaching you now, is putting shiver on the back of every oil-producing nation, is literally bringing most of the power producing companies into a standstill, because now they know there is no way to stop you to be free of energy. What you watch at the moment, what you see, how I share this knowledge so freely with you, is a nightmare for the oil nation producing countries, electricity producing countries, and in so many ways makes man free of energy, free of the shackles of the power of power supplies and oil industry. You will understand by Friday what I mean, and hopefully by Friday I'll show you something which will shock you in so many ways to understand how far with this little process you have to become free, that in the next week, in the next 2 weeks, you don't have to sleep in a cold room, fear of you can't pay the electricity bill anymore. We show you by the end of this week how you can tap in to the energy of the grid that only supplies you not the energy, but the frequency of a plasma, and you have everything free around by Christmas if you do it the right way. So now you understand how fundamental this change is. Copper wire, which has been abused totally by human race for past 100 years, now is getting used the correct way by us. Because once you follow this procedure, the same technology will apply that you can use it for the car. How to connect the system into your car to reduce the fuel consumption, the oil consumption, by anything up to 70%. As I said in the other teachings, as I said, if you understood just now, you are not producing energy 1 plus 1 or 100 plus energy. There is nothing free about this. The only thing you're getting now, you have changed fuel. You have changed fuel from coal or oil to a plasma. And this time, the way you nano-coated the material, the way you've seen it, unfortunately I cleaned it out, but I draw it for you again. I get my pen back. The way geniuses of this board, you bought it, at least.
Top button. It's the top button that you have to have the, if you look to the top there, yes, there you go.
What happened? This is your copper wire. You nano-coated it. I showed it to you. With a caustic. You put the wire. You put caustic at the bottom. Try to put these wires just off the mesh of the ground that you don't get the residue of the caustic in it. Put hot water, boiling hot water on it. Close the lid. Leave it for 24 hours. Then take it out of the caustic. Water has to cover the material. Take it out of the caustic. Empty the bucket or the box and leave it back in the box. This can be done very quickly, and close the box and leave it for another day. That the nano layers can grow. It's like making popcorn. You have to allow it to pop. And then you get a good nano layer. And then when you've done this, there are enough videos. We're going to show you some videos, references you can go to. When you nano-coated it, you are halfway through. You have the basic material, but you'll find out if you try to work with it, it will not work. What you need to do is, while you are making these coils, try to get hold of some copper strips or copper plates, or a strip more copper wires while you're doing it, and put them inside to nano-coat. You need to make yourself, this is, you made the wire into the nano-coated. But now we have to go to the next step, which is the free plasma. How do you produce the free plasma? The free plasma, what we call the gases in nano state, again, is on the Internet of the Keshe Foundation website. You can find it everywhere. What you need to do, you made yourself three of these and three of these. But try to make at least, while you're doing it, because you got to do it, make yourself about 10 pieces of about 15 centimeter long, just copper wires, without turning, without coiling it. So what you need is literally make yourself strips of about this much wire, don't forget, gauge 14, and just put them aside. Just put them in there to be nano-coated. Because you need these when you come to connect. You need these wires for your connections. So when you made the coils, everything is finished. You make about 10 of these because it might come handy, and you will find out why they come handy in a very short time. And you put these in a nano coating. When you nano coated it, in a day or 2 days, you take it out. If you found some copper wires, extra copper wires that you could nano coat, or the plates like this, which you put through the same process. You put these plates in the box, and then you let it nano coat. These are needed for your next step to make the free plasmas. So it's step by step. You know what gauge you need, you know what copper wire you need, you know how many windings you need, you know now you have the basis for one of the most powerful energy producing units in the universe. In time, I'll show you how powerful. It's so powerful that it can feed you for generations. But step by step. You've seen it. This is the next step to it. Then, when you nano coated it, you need a small piece of zinc. Or you need another piece of copper, which is not nano coated. You keep it not coated, just keep it aside. Or you keep a piece of wire, copper wire, aside. So we go through it step by step, and we all understand. You need yourself a very long, meters of gauge 14 copper wire. You make 3 bigger size dimension and 3 smaller size dimension coils, which they can go inside each other, of 70 to 80, and then the other one of 150 to 160 turns, with the smaller diameter to have a length about 1.5 times what you coiled back out. Then you insert the coil inside each other, and from the end, which is the longest, once you turn, you coil it, when you put it inside, you turn it to a half a sphere or to a full sphere, and you insert the long piece back in the center of itself to go through. And then you leave it as that. Then you place it in a box where you put caustic at the bottom. Then you put your 6 set of coils. Each one of these is considered as one set. 3 small set and 3 large set. You put them in a pot. You need about 10 of the wires, the same gauge, to be cut to go in the same pot. And in the same pot, you put a big piece of copper. The same, you put a caustic in, hot boiling temperature water, put a lid on, and leave it for 24 hours.